Well, welcome back guys to the Musings of Maverick channel. I'm your host Maverick, and right now we're going to be watching Vinland Saga episode 19. So, last episode, not 4, Thorkel and Thorfinn, started battling out. Eventually, Thorkel still did get the upper hand. I assume Thorfinn probably has quite a few broken bones in his body right now. I'd be very surprised if he was able to come out of that unscathed. And especially with the realism that, the selective realism, let's just say, that the series has been doing so far. I think they're going to we're actually going to see those injuries on Thorfinn, I'm saying. And beyond that, probably the other biggest development last episode would be the sort of unleashing of Canute, let's just say. So he is now, getting out of his very beta, very passive character, and more into the Canute the Great that we know from historical records, right? He was, one of the greats who was really one of the first to unify England, in a sense. But anyways, and last episode, there were quite a lot amount of dislikes. I don't really know why. Again, if you have, you're welcome to debate my opinion. You're welcome to correct me on things that I'm wrong. But let's just say this right now. I'm not going to be changing, my thoughts, my opinions in order to satisfy you guys, right? That would really be against the point of this series. I'm not here to just circle jerk over how good an anime is. So, with that said, let's get into the episode right now. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. And honestly, I don't even know what toes I stepped on for last episode, but whatever. Orphan? For a second there, I was like, is he going to, forget his memories? Uh, oh shit. Damn. Oh man, that is a clear break of the of the arm. Ouch. I'm surprised that Thorfinn hasn't isn't on the verge of collapsing from the pain. Like holy shit. Well, anyways, let me skip this real quick. See you guys in a second. And back. Okay. Right. That is, well, according to the sagas, anyways, that is true. Yeah, because he basically deserted, right? He didn't want to fight anymore. And it's like, what? You probably want him to shut up first. The young Vikings. Hmm. Hmm. I'm thinking probably the birth of Thorfinn is what led him to make this decision. Boom. Damn, one hit on. Holy shit, Force is OP. You know, and the ironic thing is the person that killed him is also in front of you. What is this elementary? This elementary school fight. Uh. Ooh. Shogi? Why the hell would he be saying shogi? Alright, never mind. Coach Ashglad. Yeah. Dang, fighting with a broken arm. Now, honestly, I'm surprised that he only broke an arm. Huh. It's going to blind him? Oh. Damn, Ashla was in the same battle. What is he? What is he going to do? Yeah, he's going to blind him using the blade. But how is Thorfinn going to counterattack without a blade? Just with a kick? Alright. Run. Damn. Holy shit.
そこまでだ。これ以上争ってはならぬ。この戦で死ぬ者、犬死にだぞ。そんな。全滅なのか。アシェラットの軍団が。兄じゃ。生きているのか。
As good as dead.
飽きをせず、よくもこれほどに殺し合うものだな。
王族だろうと決闘に水差す権利はねえ。引っ込んでなお嬢さん。
もはや決闘の様相ではあるまい。そなたも一刀の誇りと潔さを示してみせるがいい。
うるせえ。んなことてめえに言われなくても分かってんだよ。ウルフィンを離せ。決闘は俺の負けだ。大将は負けてねえ。俺たちが邪魔しただけだ。黙れもんきなども。俺の負けだ。ちったかっこつけさせろ。アスゲート。大将の命令通りにしろ。不愉快だ。50年生きてきて今日ほど不愉快な日はねえぜ。酒。
ハゲ、うちにずらかれぞ。
来たかいけ。
は？てか何のためにここまで？
待ってみてろ。
Now it's Canute's turn to play.
なんだ王子様。どこのこと喧嘩の仲裁に来たわけか。
ソリと食料をし。それと、ドルフィンとアシュラット、私の重視。
はあかお前は。この黙って逃がす漁師がいるか。
スベン王とマミエルス、切り札に。考えている。
はい王子。あんたは餌で人質で金づるだ。
王子は諦めろ。よく書くんじゃねえ。
いいから見てろ。
下がれゲロ。ではせぬ。
間にちょお前。もう寄った村にラグナルだぜ。
トルケルよ。私に人質の価値はない。なぜなら、父は
Doesn't.
父を愛してなどいないからだ。
Yeah.
父は王位を兄ハラルドに継がせる。私は兄の備えに
Which will eventually happen, by the way.
だが、そのことが進化の者たちを争わせ、王国の元へを危うくさせ始めた。私の生存は父王にとって憂いのもとだ。
つまりスベン王は俺があんたを殺すことを期待していると。
暗殺に比べれば戦士は温当だ。父王自身の手が小殺しに汚れぬ。
仮にこのまま見逃したとしてどこへ行く気だ。
To Kingswain.
ケインズバラの軍団本営へ。父王との喧嘩だ。
勝てると思ってんのか。おめでてえな。
ことをするだけだ。どうせ惜しむような命ではない。
Forkel's like, let me join you. うん。Well,
黙り込んじまった。野郎ども、そんな俺でもな、たった一つ後悔してる。なぜ俺はトールズについていかなかったのかって。
うん。
あの時奴について、この戦士の秘密を知ることができた。
Maybe Ashlat's also like that in a sense.
よし、決めた。
Follow Canute.
この剣が俺はあんたについていくぜ。これから何をして何者になっていくのか見届けて。その代わりぬるいことしやがったら即ぶっ殺すかんな。
And now we converge with history.
なんだあの野郎、まだいたのか。ヌートでラグナル殿を殺したのは私です。お切りしてください。ですがもし生かしおきくださるという役に立ちます。この一命に変えても。ラグナルの分の働け。それが弔いだ。
Damn.
ついてきたいものはついてこい。不便を玉座から引きずり下ろす。
なんだおめえ、マネックすんな。何がマネだ。家来になったら俺の方がいいな。まあとにかく仲良くやろうぜ。おめえの手下はあらかた殺しちゃったけど。
I wonder when he's going to tell Forkel that he killed Force. I mean, Ashkel doesn't even care about the rest of them anyways, so suits him. Alright, that was a little fun episode. I'll see you guys after the ending. Alrighty, Canute has got himself a little army and he's heading back to Gainsborough, right? More on that in a second. I just want to quickly comment on the actual episode at hand, and one thing to take away from this is everybody is so metal, right? And I mean, like, it's definitely very glorified and romanticized in a sense, you know, their values and whatnot, but and don't get me wrong, it's really entertaining, right? It's the sort of things that we like to see in sort of like hero movies and such. But what I'm talking about is, say, for instance, Furkow, he lost his eye, and yet he's like, well, a duel was a duel, I lost, no hard feelings. And then he's even willing to team up with Ashlad and Thorfinn and Canute, all no problem. He's just like, yeah, business is business, right? No hard feelings. The same with his second in command, Asgid, something like that. You know, Vorkow was just about to rip his neck apart, and yet he was like standing his ground, you know, absolutely no emotion. I must do what I have to do. And same with Askeladd as well, right? Straight up telling Canute that he was the one who killed Ragnar, and you know, I guess you could say it's all part of his master plan in a sense, but still, I actually wonder if he already thinks Canute is has his doubt, has his suspicions on him, and that is why he chose to come forward with this. Because otherwise, I don't really see what he would gain from this. He could, you know, support Canute all the way, even so. But I guess in his mind, the calculation was, you know, fessing this up would cause Canute to trust him further, right? I feel like that's what this scene is implying here. And, you know, Canute, he instantly recognizes what to do as well. He's not, you know, going like, how could you kill Ragnar and whatnot, but recognizes the value of Ashlad and decides to at least, well, I guess you could say forgive him, and, you know, just utilize his talents further on, right? And I guess maybe, you know, give Thorfinn some credit as well. He has lived all these years right next to his father's killer, and even though, you know, he is still staying there with the objective of taking Ashlad's life, they're still able to maintain a fairly cordial relationship, all things considered, right? And really, it's just, you know, not giving in to the immediate emotions, right? Because there's something greater that they're trying to fight for, and it's really romanticized and whatnot, but, you know, it's great, right? This is anime, this is fantasy, we want to have these kinds of hero characters. Another thing to note is, I guess, back to Thor's, right? And, you know, this topic of strongest warrior has came up quite a few times already, all these episodes in. And I'm still saying that it's basically the one who could become the strongest warrior is once they have something to protect, right? Or doing it out of love, you know, something of that sort, I'm thinking. Especially in Thor's case, I do believe he made this decision once Thorfinn was born, right? He realizes that he has other duties now. He needs to protect his son's life. He needs to make sure that his son grows up in a good environment. Or, yeah, wait, actually, would that child be Thorfinn, or would that be the older sister? In any case, I do feel like that is part of the, you know, the whole concept that that this anime is trying to portray here. Definitely something in the end related with love, especially when you consider all the things that happened in the last episode, you know, with the priest, with Canute and whatnot, and then you tie in with Thor's as well, and how he, you know, how the priest recognizes Thor's as, you know, the embodiment of love or something like that. I guess that's what the anime is eventually trying to say here, right? Though we'll probably learn more about that as it goes on. Now, with all that aside, let's talk a little bit about the history part, right? Because I actually brushed up a little bit on my knowledge of this time period as well, and I realized I missed one significant thing, and that is Canute was never supposed to be at London, right? According to history, he stayed at Gainsborough, where he took care of, you know, basically took care of the camp, took care of the supplies and all the other hostages and whatnot that were being sent to King Sweyn, and, you know, he was there to hold down the fort. King Sweyn was the one who went to London, didn't really win there, and so then he went around to the countryside, forcing the others to surrender as well, before he eventually went back to Gainsborough for the winter, right? So none of this was actually supposed to happen, in a sense, so my bad there. I don't really have this history of this time period right off the back of my head. It's still just some excerpts that I've read before. But yeah, this is, you know, it basically nullifies everything that happened before. But even if we could say, okay, maybe he, you know, even though the historical records say that he was given charge of the camp, it's still entirely possible that he went with Sweyn to London, right? So, okay, fine. Let's accept that for a moment here. Now, there's still a lot of timing issues and here in regards to how this anime is going to match up with history, right? So, first of all, let's look at the time right now. It's definitely near December, I feel. It should be in December already. And so this is around the time where London also surrenders to Sweyn as well. And with that, really the entirety of England has surrendered to him. Sweyn is in fact the de facto king of England at this point, right? So that's. And right now, Canute and company are trying to travel to Gainsborough to fight against King Sweyn. Like, how exactly is that supposed to work, right? What historically, at least from the records that we do know, what happened here was London surrendered to Sweyn, and well, basically Sweyn just said okay, and he was crowned king, but stayed in Gainsborough because it was winter, right? And his camp is there. That's how he's going to spend the winter. Forcal, on the other hand, at this point was still in the employment of King Alfred of the English, and so even though according to history, anyways, this was around the time when Efrod actually fled to France, fled to Normandy here. Even though in the anime it says that he was long gone. And so Forca at this point was still sort of like holding down the fort, even though London had already surrendered to Sweyn already. He still stayed, relatively near the countryside and whatnot. He also set up camp for the winter. And at this point, he was still in the employment of Alfred, right? And still waiting for, at least until his contract was up. So right now, even though we do know that later on he joins Canute, it's a little bit early, in terms of the anime portrayal here. And so yeah, I'm really interested to see how exactly they're going to, tell the story in the later episodes. Like, how exactly are they going to make it eventually join back with the timeline of history again? So that is definitely something to look forward to, right? Some other things that they mentioned here. We have another mention of Prince Harold again, right? Which is Sweyn's eldest son. So he's supposed to be back in Denmark at this point. Sweyn only took Canute with him on this expedition. And as I've been saying before for the past few episodes again, Sweyn really dies rather quickly sometime in February, right? And so that is when Denmark eventually was inherited by Harold, whereas back in England, the people here eventually chose Canute as their king, right? Although, there were some complications later on, especially from the side of King Alfred, but that's for a later time. I doubt that we're going to get to that within this season here. So, I don't know. How exactly are they going to make it? Is it going to be a case where perhaps they receive news that Sweyn, maybe they meet up in Gainsborough with Sweyn, and then they receive news that London has surrendered to him, so England has surrendered to Sweyn, and so, Forcal and Canute part ways. Forcal takes his men and camps out. Canute also goes back to Gainsborough and maybe buys his time to eventually rise up against Sweyn. And I don't know, perhaps the anime is going to take a course where Canute is actually responsible for Sweyn's death in February, a few months later. I don't know, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they actually carry that out. And by the way, the primary sources that I'm using are the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles and the Encomium, both which are, they have their biases and such, but are mostly still treated as good primary sources for this time period. So, there we go. That was my review of Vinland Saga episode 19. Let's see how they are going to continue the story. See you guys next week.